Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Susan Friedmann, and we're going to be talking about how to sell nonfiction books in bulk. Welcome again. I'm so pleased that you're here. I know your time is valuable, and I'm so happy to bring you these interviews from what I call inspirational businesswomen in the know, where you're going to receive tips and strategies to help you brand, grow, and market your business. So thanks for being here with us today. We're going to be getting started with the interview in just a moment. But before we get started, I want to say, if you could help us out, what I'm going to do is play the preview trailer for this. And as you watch that, if you think of somebody who might benefit by this interview with Susan, please help spread the word and let them know what's going on here today so they don't miss anything that Susan's about to share with us. So I'll play the trailer and we'll get the interview started. All right, I think you can see that we're in for a real treat with Susan today. So as I said, let other people know if they may benefit by this interview. Now, today's show is sponsored by hangout-marketing.com, where you can receive a complimentary live stream marketing assessment. Now, you might want to take that assessment if you're trying to find out how to grow your business, how to brand it, and use live stream marketing more effectively in your business. So if you want to take that assessment, all you have to do is text pound success to 775-800-4179. Or if you're out of the country, simply go to hangout-marketing.com, and that assessment will only take you a couple minutes. And you might even qualify for a complimentary Shine Online session with me. So go take advantage of that today, won't you? All right, let's get started with the introduction to Susan. Now, first of all, I want you to know that Susan has a lot of experience in publishing. Let me just read a little bit of your background. So if you've been thinking about writing a nonfiction book and wondering about how to effectively market and sell that book, you're going to love my interview with Susan today. She has turned her 30 plus years of experience into a mission to help solopreneurs stand out from the crowd. Susan has guided hundreds of nonfiction authors toward mastery in their niche. She's an absolute writing powerhouse with 18 books to her name, and the first book sold more than 500,000 copies. Yes, you want to stick around and learn about this. So here's what we're going to be discussing. Number one, how to find the right niche market for your book. Number two, simple steps to make money with your book. Number three, marketing mistakes many authors unknowingly make. All right. Now, also, when she's not changing the game for nonfiction writers, Susan is living life to the fullest. From being chased by an elephant to hugging a tiger, from teaching yoga to being rescued by the National Guard. I can't wait to hear about all this. Enjoying 3 grandchildren and traveling with her life partner of 53 years. her life is brimming with incredible experiences and accomplishments. I'm so happy to introduce you to the viewers. Susan, come on and say hi to everyone, won't you?
It's such a pleasure to be here, Virginia. Thank you so much.
Well, as I say, what an accomplishment in your lifetime. 18 books selling 500,000 the first round. So you've got some secrets. You've got some strategies that I know my viewers are going to want to hear about. But before we get started with that, I'm really intrigued by your background. I'd love for the viewers to know sort of how you came about being this expert in publishing books in bulk, or I should say, selling books in bulk, because lots of people have written books, but how many have they sold? And have they really been of the best value to them? So give us a little background, and would you please sprinkle in a little bit about being rescued and some of these other wild, crazy stories? I think people would love to hear about that
Oh, I
too.
think we've got, I don't know how much time have we got, Virginia.
Sprinkle in, sprinkle in.
Yes, we may have to come back for a second part, but like everything or many things, it happened as a mistake, or I didn't set out to actually do what I actually did, but force of circumstance, I published I had my first book published, um, Excite title, Exhibiting at Trade Shows, Tips and Techniques for Success. Now, not, necessarily for the bestseller list, but,
Yeah.
that wasn't my target
Uh-huh.
because I knew that I had a very niche market who were interested in my book. My niche market were exhibitors at trade shows who need to improve their performance there. So that was my little niche in the marketplace. So putting my book on, in bookstores, and Amazon didn't exist then. So we're going back a few years. And, but doing the same old, bookstores and hoping, people are going to buy the book. And yes, it was a little soul destroying that after the first year, I'd only sold, I don't know if I'd sold even 100 books, and most of them
Uh-huh.
were to, friends and family, and, just those sort of those kind people who wanted to support me, but were definitely not my target audience. And for listeners, if you're a first-time author and, you get despondent if people aren't just sort of like rushing to order this book that
I know,
you've
because
just
you put your heart
published.
and soul into writing it.
Oh,
You know,
you
especially the
have.
first time around. You're
It's
going
your
to take
baby.
painstaking efforts to make it right. Yeah.
Oh, yes. It's your baby. You've
Yeah.
given birth to this piece of, it's really, it's an incredible feat. And to be honest, even though it looks as if there are so many, there are thousands of books being published each year, but yet there are many thousands more that are not being put out there because of people not finishing their work. So just finishing it and getting it out to the marketplace is already a big feat, and I applaud any author, who has done that. That's no small feat, whether it's one or, 18 books. It's always the
Yeah.
first one. There's nothing like the first one. I
Nothing
remember
like
with
the
my
first
first
one.
child, somebody said, there's nothing like the first one. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, so
Same
how did you
applies.
make the leap from not selling 100 books in a year, mostly to family and friends, into turning it into 500,000 copies
Yeah.
sold? That's brilliant. I want to hear about that for sure.
Yes. Well, there was a lot of thinking that went on that I thought, well, how am I going to get this out there? Who's going to really buy this? So I had to look deep into this market. I was in a niche market. I was in the exhibiting industry, the meeting and events industry. So I had to look at, well, who else out there had the same audience as me, yet we weren't competing with each other. So I was selling a service. And then I thought, well, there are people who sell to these exhibitors. And if you know anything about trade shows, they sell them the booths, the exhibits. And there are different kinds of exhibits. You've got ones that are very fancy that could cost, you know, $500,000, $1 million. They're called custom exhibits.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the, you know, pop-up exhibits, which are literally the portable exhibit market. So I thought, well, those people have got the same audience, but we're not selling the same thing, but yet we are complementing each other. And that's the key, Virginia, is, and this is how I work with my authors, you know, we look at, you know, who would complement, you know, who has the same audience as you, and you can complement your services and you can form a strategic partnership with them. Now,
so that goes into, I think what we're already getting into is the first topic, and that is determining your niche, that's really key to having the right niche so that you can market the book effectively. So I just want to clarify for everyone that that's what you're talking about here, correct?
Any shadow of a doubt. Thank you. And going back to that strategy, which you you know, position so beautifully. So yes, your message and your market are key to going anywhere. Because I know that one of the topics that you listed were the mistakes people, you know, make, authors make. And one of the biggest mistakes, and I get this all the time, is when I ask authors, well, who is your book for? And Virginia, do you know what many times the answer is?
Everyone.
Ah, you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. My book is for everyone. It's a universal message. And I'm like, I totally agree. It might well be. But you know, the biggest of the big, you know, multinational companies don't even try and market to everyone. Now you've got a Procter and Gamble, you've got a Nike, you've got any one of these huge companies, corporations, international, global, they're all over the world. They don't even try selling to everyone. They've got their little niches. I mean, Nike is a perfect example because each sport has got their different, you know, outfits and equipment that you need, and they market that to the people who are interested in tennis or golf or, you know, running or whatever, yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've got their different niches. I mean, I love that example of a huge corporation who does this. So why would little old me coming along with a book saying, oh, my book is for everyone? And yes, it might be, but how are you going to market it to everyone is the big question. So
really
and
what
then
sets you apart, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just when I grab these ideas, I want to share.
Yeah.
What sets you apart as someone who supports authors and getting their book marketed is just that. It's about planning the book from a marketing perspective, not just from a publishing perspective. Am I on to something here?
You perfectly right. And this is your analytical, strategic side coming up, which for me, I'm the creative. I come up with the ideas, you know, and so I love that. And, you know, my husband is more analytical, so I have to run ideas by him too, because he sort of helps me sort of, you know, okay, strategize this a little bit, which is what happened with going back to, you know, say the formula, the books in bulk blueprint is looking at, you know, who out there can complement you, who has your same audience, and then, you know, building a strategy as how you're going to market to them.
So you're developing a lot of partnerships.
Thing.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
You're developing a lot of partnerships then. Even before the book is ready to be published, you really sort of, is that foundational?
You know, that is key. And sometimes it's more challenging because the company that you want to partner with, or an organization you want to partner with, they want to see the real thing. They want to read it. And
Sure.
having the book in hand, this is why so many times authors sort of put off the marketing side. They just want to get the book out there.
Right.
And yes, that just puts you behind a little bit because you've got to now start marketing the book. But yes, it is challenging because of the people you want to work with. So having maybe some beta copies of the book would allow you to let them see it before you actually have the whole thing, formally
So
put.
I think this is really interesting, first of all, to think about before you even start writing. You've got your topic in mind, you've got your expertise you want to share, but you haven't narrowed down who it's for. So before you go into you might outline the book, for instance, but maybe not start writing it until you think about who's my audience, who's
Yeah,
going to be reading this book
correct.
before you really start writing it.
Yeah,
So that's about the niche. So you're talking about the niche from a couple different perspectives as I'm hearing you. You're talking about it from the perspective of who might partner with me to help get this book sold quickly and
yeah,
effectively. And then you're thinking about who's going to read this book so that I can put the tone in and that be addressing and thinking as though I'm talking to that person, to that particular type of
absolutely.
person.
I
So
mean,
if the person, for
this is
instance, is a
beautiful.
healer and you're doing a healing book, you want the tone to be to healers, and their vocabulary, et cetera, is going to be different than if you're talking to somebody who's a marketer, for
Correct.
instance. Yeah.
Correct. And the examples that you're going to give or the case studies are all centered around that niche market, so that yes, knowing this up front before you write it. However, often the authors that I work with, we're having to backpedal because it was written from the standpoint of, well, my book is for everyone and everyone needs to hear this message. And
Yeah.
yes, I never deny that, because yes, it is a universal, and being able to market it efficiently and effectively needs more structure, more, narrowing the pathway,
Hmm.
because otherwise you're just throwing spaghetti against the wall, hoping some of it will stick, which
Right.
is often what happens with authors. A mistake is, that they're putting money, money after money after money into different strategies. Oh, this one's going to work, and somebody sells you another, shiny object, and that's going to work. And it comes down to, well, who is this for? What do you want the book to do for you? That's another question I always ask, Virginia, is what do you want it to do for you? You
And I
know?
think that's so important because in teaching and working with the clients that I have, it's one of the first questions when you're wanting to, as my niche is always helping entrepreneurs get more exposure so that they shine online and stand out as an expert in their niche. So
Yes,
anytime they do some form of marketing, what I'm always asking them is, what's the desired end result of actually using that strategy? What do you
correct.
want to have happen next? So you're
Yes.
going about it really the same way from the standpoint of, if you're writing this book, why?
Hmm.
What's your
Yeah,
desired outcome for
yeah,
putting all this time and effort into the book? So I
yeah.
want to just pause and say, hey, you guys getting this? Susan's really bringing up some important concepts here for you to think about. If you're thinking about writing a book, you want to approach it from this perspective. If you've already written a book, you may want to contact Susan and get some guidance on how to better get it out there. So really important. So if you guys are hearing a gem, you know what I feel about that? Put pound gem in the comment section and tell us what you're hearing. I'm hearing some brilliant gems from Susan. And obviously, she's been around the block a few times. She's made her mistakes, which we'll talk more about the mistakes in a bit. But she's trying to share with you, how you can do it without making the mistakes that she's made and get it out there more efficiently. So great to have you sharing what I call lots of gems here today, Susan.
Thank you. Thank
Uh,
you. Yeah, I love that idea. Yes, it is. They are gems. I have to agree.
well, yeah, and hey, if you've been there and been through the ranks of experiencing how to do this more effectively, that's the great advantage of being with someone who's experienced like you are. And obviously, you wouldn't have gone ahead and written 18 books if you didn't know more about the process. So let's go in to the second topic, which is simple steps to make money with your books, because I'm sure everyone would like that to happen when they write their book.
Absolutely. Well, again, this goes back to what do you want your book to do for you? Because if you just want to sell books, that's a whole different avenue on its own. And to be honest, unless you're a celebrity these days, it's tough to make real money with a book. It's not just writing one book and all of a sudden, and this is a mistake, by the way, that often, authors think is that I'm going to write this book, I'm going to put it out there, and it's so brilliant that I'm going to be famous. It's going to, make me a lot of money. And unless you're, a celebrity, as I said, a Michelle Obama, for instance, it's not necessarily going to happen that quickly because it takes a lot to get a book out there if you want, the public to see it. However, my whole formula is looking at, being a big fish in a small pond.
Right.
And if you start thinking that way and making a name for yourself is, writing articles, blog posts, getting your name, being interviewed on podcasts, being interviewed in as many places as you can where your target audience hangs out. And this always goes back to your message, your target audience, because when you start marketing in that narrow environment and you go narrow and deep, you start looking at where you can be seen and heard. And this is really, so important, looking at being recognized as an expert in your field. And that's what you're looking for, because when people see you, oh my, she's an expert in this area. I've got to hire her to speak, to train, to coach. That's where you're going to make money with your book. Yeah,
So let's pause right there. This is a big
yeah.
gem. You guys all
Yeah.
hearing this?
This
We
is a
all think, oh,
rock.
we're going to write a book and we're going to be a superstar and everyone's going to want our book and it's going to be a bestseller and all those wonderful things. But Susan is really guiding you in a way that's much more realistic. And that is that you use your book almost as a way to establish yourself as an expert and get out there and interviews, just like I do interviews all the time and I interview people all the time. You build your expert reputation. People start to get to know you and associate you with the niche. First of all, the problems you solve, and then also the people you serve, the solutions you provide for them. And the money is made through the book, guiding you into those opportunities from which people will say, I need what she's offering. And they'll purchase something from you, whether it's a service or a program or a consulting, whatever it is that you might be offering. That's the key to making money with your book. Did I just outline that correctly,
Oh,
Susan?
you're brilliant. You're brilliant. I need you at my side the whole time because you synthesize it so beautifully. You, your book is a credibility builder. It's a big fat business card. And if you think of it like that, it can really open doors for you. And open doors that often you don't even think about. I had one author, for instance, and she actually wrote a chapter in an anthology that I put together.
Mm-hmm.
And from that piece, that chapter in this book just already said that she was a published author, and it opened speaking engagements she'd been trying over and over to get, and she kept on hitting this brick wall because she wasn't recognized in the same way, but now she had a book. It made her look more credible. Now, she in fact went on to take that one chapter and expand it into a full book of her own, which was a brilliant move. And of course, you know, her whole credibility has risen exponentially with that. And the fact is that it's a credibility builder. And if you want to do speaking, coaching, training, you know, there is this expectation if you want to be seen as an expert that you have a book. You know,
Yeah.
because there's
So
that
simple.
expectation these days. You know, 20, 30 years ago when I started in the speaking business, if you had a book, wow, that was something extra special. Nowadays, it's just expected. Well, I suppose you've got a book, don't you? Yeah. And so, yes. And think of this, Virginia, another gem is you have a speaking engagement. Everybody in that audience, be it 50, 100, 200, 1,000 people, need to walk away with a copy of your book.
There you go. Gem, gem, gem. Bells going
And this
off.
is where your strategic partners may well come into play, because they want to get out to the same target audience you do. So why not give them a copy of your book so that they leave with, yes, your message and the book. They may not read the book, but hey, they've got a copy of it. It's a great way to sell 1,000 books, by the way, or even just 100 books all at once.
Yeah.
So much easier than Amazon
So that's a
bookstores.
big key of actually getting in front of a live audience in this case, because you're going to have the books there with you, the physical book. As you
And this is
say,
not
it is
back of
your
the room sales, Virginia. This is
no.
not back of the room sales. This is pre-sales.
Okay, well, explain that a little bit more, because I understand that's your big fat business card. So you're going to sell it. You're not handing it except to your partners who are going to
Your
support you.
partner will subsidize, otherwise pay for, you to give everyone, or it will be compliments of the XYZ company.
I see.
Everyone in the audience gets a copy of the book. It's like you're like at a trade show. Everybody's going around wanting the tchotchkes, you know? And so they, you know, here they're giving the book, but you're the speaker at the show. And maybe if there is a trade show attached to this speaking engagement, you go by the booth and you sign the books. Everyone who has a copy of the book, they come by and they can get you to sign it.
Right, right.
These are ways to make money.
Yes,
with your book.
So you're sort of combining it with the idea of doing, because this is of course your background, combining it with trade shows where there's access to you.
Exactly.
So when you're doing something like you and I are doing virtually, which many authors do, do you have some tips on that as well?
Yeah, they could have an ebook. They could have the ebook.
Okay.
If they, you know, if let's say it was too expensive to do a physical book, you could offer the ebook. And, you know, for every copy, your sponsor would be, the company would be footing the bill for that.
Got it. Oh, these are just fun ideas. Are you all getting this? How many are now getting excited about writing a book that they actually can get out there into people's hands?
And let's get our focus off of Amazon, off of bookstores, because that's sort of the default that people go to. But that's selling the book in onesies and twosies. Now, I'm not saying it shouldn't be there. Oh, yes, be on Amazon. That's everybody's go-to. Or Barnes and Noble, or, you know, any of the other book platforms. Just don't rely on them. It's there if somebody wants to buy it, if I say, my book, Riches and Niches, you know, how to make it big in a small market, go onto Amazon, buy it, but if you want bulk copies of them, that's when we should talk.
Yeah. So, okay, I think we're moving into the mistakes people make, and you've already brought up like three of them so far, and we might just review them very quickly. But it seems to me one of the mistakes also is about thinking, okay, I'm going to get a best-selling book on Amazon. And does
Mhm.
that really accomplish your goal with writing the book? And I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit more.
So, and that's very interesting because, yes, we offer Viva Publishing, my publishing company, does offer the ebook bestseller, international bestseller status on Amazon. Does it help? Maybe yes, maybe no. Depends on your target audience. Now, it makes you feel good as the author. And it's very good in terms of saying, well, my book is an international best-selling book, which again sets the book a little bit higher,
Mm-hmm.
again, in that credibility building process. Um, you know, but just relying on that, no, it's not going to do it. It's like, I mean, I had somebody come to me yesterday and who had a book published by another publisher, and they put on the book international bestseller. And this woman, the author, said to them, but I'm not an international bestseller. And they said, oh, we'll make sure that you get that status. So they'd already put it on the book. And she was like, I don't like this. This doesn't feel right to me,
I would
which
agree. That's rather
I would
deceitful
agree
marketing.
totally. It's misrepresenting
Yeah.
marketing. So, but with Amazon, at least the beauty is, and one of the things that when we do it for our authors, we get all the screenshots. So you can actually see that you were bestseller in a certain category.
Mm-hmm.
And the I say the trick, but the genius behind it is finding which categories, and this is what we do a lot of research to look at which categories you stand the best chance of getting bestseller in. Now,
So
you're
that
not
goes
going to
back
get
to
it
the
in self.
first. That goes back to the
Yeah,
first point.
yeah,
Really clearly defining the niche that you want to
absolutely.
market to.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
leadership, motivation, self-help, you stand less than zero chance of getting in there.
Yeah.
But if you start paring it down, specifically, creative writing. I had one with a client recently, and he put himself down in leadership. I was like, you're never going to get noticed in leadership. There are thousands of books out there on leadership that you don't stand a chance against. So you've
Yeah.
got to look at where you can stand the best chance. So, and that in and of itself is a whole strategic um, process.
Yeah. Well, this has been fascinating, Susan. Is there anything else, any other mistake that you haven't told us about yet that we should be aware of?
I think one of the, I put it down as one of the biggest mistakes, Virginia, and that is you put so much time, energy, and money into publishing the book, and then there's nothing left for marketing. And that's really sad because actually, it's not the end of the line having written the book, it's just the beginning of the journey. And it's the marketing side of it that is going to get you the recognition and the, enhanced credibility that you're looking for. And it's not going to happen with just publishing the book and getting it on Amazon or getting it in the bookstores. You've got to do
Yeah.
a lot more, which is what you and I now have been discussing for the last, 30 plus minutes.
Well, right. And, that's why, my niche turned into spotlight marketing because I wanted to
Yes,
shine the spotlight on entrepreneurs' expertise so that they attract more of their ideal audience. So they get more exposure as an expert.
exactly.
Marketing is so important, and people seem to be intimidated by it when actually they need to start embracing it because it's such an intricate part of having a successful business.
Oh,
It's
let
such
me
an
tell you
intricate part of having a successful book.
yes, yes, yes. And let me tell you what the easiest way to market your book.
Let's hear it. All ears.
It's your enthusiasm and your passion for the subject. This is your baby. If
Yeah.
you're not excited by your baby, why should anybody else be? And people say to me, well, will you sell my book for me? And I'm like, first of all, that's not what we do. And secondly, the best person to sell your book is who do you
You,
think, Virginia?
you.
You. Absolutely. It's you wrote the book. You lived this life, whether it took you 6 months, a year, 2 years. I had somebody I spoke to 2 days ago. It took them 20 years to get the book out.
Ah,
I mean, that's a very long gestation period. I mean, even
yeah.
longer than elephants, yes. But they got it
Right.
out. And that's the key. I mean, yes, kudos for doing it. Because often people get frightened, the whole imposter syndrome, which is a whole other subject. But yes, but as you said, they get scared by it, scared by marketing, because yeah, marketing can be very overwhelming. I mean, I've been in marketing, 30 plus years, and even I can get overwhelmed with it.
Oh, I've been 30 plus for me too. And yes, because there's so many, especially now with the internet age
Oh
and
yeah,
virtual, there's just so many more pathways that you can go down, and you have to find the
absolutely.
one that resonates with you and that feels authentic to you. And as you say, where you can shine and let your passion um, go
And
out to the
where
world.
your target audience hangs out. It's no
Yes.
good being on Facebook if they're on LinkedIn, and it's no good being on Instagram when they're on Facebook, or all
Yeah.
these idiosyncrasies. That's why knowing where who your target is and where they hang out, which I keep coming back to, is critical.
Yeah,
Critical.
it's the first step. Well, listen,
Mm,
you've got a gift for everyone.
I
I'm going to bring
do.
this up for people to see. Susan's going to talk to you about it in just a moment, but I want you to know where to go get and take advantage of this. You can go to shinetips.com/ Susan Gift. That's easy to remember. And I always like to read it as well as have you say it because some people listen to the broadcast rather than watch it. So go to shinetips.com, Susan Gift. Susan, tell them why they need to run on over there and grab this gift.
So this gift, Virginia, is special for your audience, and that is a 20-minute brainstorm with Susan that I will get on the phone with you and talk about what you are doing with your marketing, what's working, what isn't working, and offer some insights as to how you could potentially do it better, whether you work with me or not. This is not a sales pitch. I'm genuine that I want to help. And if you decide that you want to work with me, obviously that's an added bonus. That is not necessarily the purpose of it, but just an opportunity where you can literally brainstorm what you're doing and what you'd like to do and, what's realistic. And I will challenge you on your market and what you want to do with your book. So,
Well, also, I think if you're just contemplating writing a book, this would be very valuable for you to just go chat with Susan about it a bit so that you can lay some foundation for how to go about it. And then again, Susan's available if you want more coaching on it, but at least get her wisdom. 35 years in this industry, 18 books, selling over 500,000. Good grief. I think you all need to go talk to Susan for 20 minutes and pick her brain. So
Oh,
brainstorming with
that's really
Susan.
it.
Well, Susan, I really want to thank you for being here with us today and sharing so much of your experience and your wisdom over the years. I think people have gotten lots of gems. I know that I have. And I was an author, one of a group of authors in a book, and actually it's brought me some nice clients just from reading my chapter. And then of course there's a link in the
Absolutely.
book that takes them to my gift, and then they go ahead and have booked sessions with me as well. So I certainly encourage you to get involved in some way, but boy, take advantage of your guidance. Do you have any last gem we might have missed that you want to make sure people take home with them before we close?
Don't be frightened to get out there, and be visible. I'm talking to myself too as I say this, Virginia, because there's often this fear of being judged, being criticized, as to what you've written, how you've written it. And we just have to hear your message. Every message is unique. It may not be, it's your version of maybe something that's already out there, but it's your version. And, people need what you have to offer. So
Yeah, don't be afraid. And
don't be afraid.
let yourself, your authentic self, get out there and share your brilliance, your unique perspective with the world. Because as you say, someone out there is looking for your message. Someone needs your message. Someone will be inspired, healed, or uplifted by your message. And so to hold it inside is to hold out on what people might need from you. So I
Absolutely.
just love what you're saying, Susan. Appreciate your whole perspective on this and being here to share it with everyone. I want to thank you for joining us today. And I want
Thank
to
you for
thank
the
all of
opportunity.
you. Yes, I want to thank everyone who took the time to be here, because I know your time is valuable. And again, if you found value in this and you know someone else who's thinking of writing a book or has written a book but gotten no results, please make sure that they see this interview with Susan and take advantage of her gift. I know she's going to share her brilliance with all of you who do take advantage of it. So thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Susan.
you so much, Virginia. Take care, everyone.
You bet. And we'll see you all on the next Inspirational Businesswoman show. Bye-bye now. Thanks so much for watching today. Do you know someone who would be a great guest for our show? Or would you like to be a guest on the Inspirational Businesswoman show? Let's shine the spotlight on your expertise. We'll share your story while offering tips, strategies, and advice to our viewers. Expert interviews are a great way to build your reputation as the go-to expert. Go to shinetips.com/IBWS to apply today. Women are waiting for your message, and I can't wait to interview you.